we are recording. So here we are. I don't know why I do this little dance. I get really excited when I start. Here we are, another session. Conversations with Michi. And my guest over there looks like she's on breakfast TV waiting for the interview to begin. Okay. And this is not an interview, so I'm just going to let you know, and I'm intentionally not saying your name because I want you to introduce yourself. It's not an interview, so don't be nervous. I know you are a little bit. It's a conversation with me, T, and of all the people that I've had on of late, you've probably had hours of conversations with me over the short time that we spent together working. So, this should not unnerve you at all. You should be used to this. So consider this a conversation we used to have in the staff room or at the bus stop on our way home, waiting for the bus, or on your way to, was it self-defense? What was that thing you did? Okay.
Yeah, it was self-defense.
Self-defense? Okay, so just think, whenever the nerves come over you, just think, it's just a conversation. Okay, so I have a wonderful guest today because I'm going to say, before I let her introduce herself, that I know she was nervous, even when I asked her. And I didn't really ask her, I told her. I said, you were going to come on my conversations with Michi and you don't even have an option to say no. And you can call that bullying, but you can report me afterwards. So, and I'm saying it because I don't know where this conversation is going to go, but I think it's important for us as people to be able to acknowledge when we are taking steps outside of our comfort zone. Because sometimes when we do that, when we actually go outside of comfort zone, we don't actually give ourselves I don't want to call it pat on the back, but we don't acknowledge to ourselves. You know what I mean? We don't salute and celebrate ourselves and say, you know what, girl, you did all right. Nervous as heck, but you did. So I am mentioning it because I already want to salute you. Because for some people, they'd be like, what's there to be nervous about? But I also know that there's others that'll be like, she asks, because I don't filter anything. I just ask, and that's kind of, and that's kind of it. And if you're not a person that's open, about yourself, where you're at, what you're trying to achieve in life, it can be challenging to have these kind of conversations. So I want to salute, the fact that you agreed. And I hope that at the end of this, hopefully short time, because I'm really bad with time on conversations with Michi. I hope that you will get something out of it that will make you think, that was kind of all right. So, okay. Are you ready to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. And you are allowed to introduce yourself any which way you like. You can use your government name. You can use your Asian name. You can use whatever. You can even just make up a name right here and now. I don't care.
Wow. So my name is HOJVERIA Riaz. I go by Riaz. I know that she likes to sometimes call me Miss Ahmed, but now I just go by Riaz. And I'm 25. When I met you, I was 23, and I was so young. Yeah.
2 years? 2 years since we.
Yeah. I was 23 then. So and yeah, I'm 25. I'm gonna be 26 this year. So and
you don't have to make stuff up. Okay, so let me ask you this already, because I think you're one of the first people who's mentioned their age, like voluntarily. I've had people who have just exposed us. So what I mean is my peers of my generation just be like chatting and going, oh, well, 30 years ago. And I'm like, what you talking about? Then people know them that we are 30 and above. You know, the like fifth decade, like what is wrong? So when I hear you say, you know, oh, I'm 25 and I was 23 when we met, I'm like, wow, first of all, I'm like, it's been 2 years, it doesn't feel like that. And then secondly, I think, wow, 23. Let me be honest, I don't think I can even remember what I was doing when I was 23. I can remember what I was doing when I was 21. I can remember what I was doing when I was 25, 26. The in-between bit, okay, if you put a gun to my head and made me, I will try and remember. But you know what I mean? Like I can't. So this is funny because already now I'm like, girl, you're gonna need to stay on track. But you know, I already feel like I'm already going off track. So I just want to know, what does that feel like now? An odd question to ask, but what does it feel like because I tease people, you know, younger ones, and I'm like, yeah, new generation XYZs and all this kind of, you know, and I say it fondly, but what does it feel like to kind of be able to say, you know what, I was 23 when I met you, I'm now 25. What does that maturity process feel like? Because I'm sure it's completely different to...
Completely, and you probably can tell as well. I've changed a lot in how I view the world. I've changed a lot in how I choose to express myself, through my words, through my actions, how I choose to dress. I mean, 2 years ago, I would have been too afraid to even color my hair this way, or wear makeup, or wear contacts. You never saw me without contacts, you know, or wear, you know, dangly earrings. 2 years ago, I was too afraid to be myself. Now it's got to a point where I don't care. I'm just going to do the things that make me happy. And that's something in the last few months, that's something that that mentality came to me in the last few months, because of some things that happened. And now I just feel like, why should I be afraid to be myself? Like, why should I be afraid if someone makes a comment about me, or, you know, like, I'm doing the things that make me happy, you know. And
girl, listen, back in my day, we used to do this on the circuit. That's a salute. That's like bigger than a clap. Like I have goosebumps going through me. And I'm sure somebody might think, what, just because she's decided to do her. Yes, like to be able to get it at this stage, you know, especially, I know you, you know, like, you know, not inside out, but, you know, as you said, I knew you when you were 23. And
yeah,
to hear you say, you know what, I really don't give a damn now. And I know that's not you even saying, I figured it all out, I'm as confident as heck, I'm da da da. What you are saying is, or what I hear you saying is, I have decided to consciously move outside of the mindset that I had previously. And even if that mindset still follows me sometimes, you know, as it followed you here in your nerves, come have a conversation with me, you will still give yourself a chance.
Yes, which is why when you asked, I said yes.
And
because the old me would have been like, oh no, I don't think I can do it. You know, it's too much. I don't think I have the strength to, the courage to. But the new me was like, well, actually, we shouldn't say no to opportunities, because you don't know what doors you're closing when you say no to an opportunity, you know. so you know, I think there was once a story you said, we were doing morning, you know, the morning in the canteen when we'd have to keep an eye on the students.
Oh, okay. So now you expose what we were doing. Okay, so let me just give a little context before people think, oh my gosh, what? Okay, so I have had, how many lives do they say cats have?
9.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I've had 90. So, Hodge, so I call, you know, we call her Hodge. but her name is HOJVERIA, as she said, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her name, even though she doesn't know that I want to know a little bit about her name. But I'm very interested in names, especially when they have an identity of their own. I'm really interested in that. So, but I don't know what life of the 90 lives I was in when I met her. And so whenever one might hear me mention, education or educators, Hodge was a part of that journey of my life. And then I speak. Okay. Is one of the great ones who continued. I have chosen to go back to doing mine through my mentoring and those kind of, things. So yeah. But so she's talking about in the mornings, we would have to make sure that some unruly children that were owned by other people or were in our care were actually like orderly, in the morning, because we all know that hyper children don't do very well during the day in class settings. Exactly. So that's what she was referring to. So carry on. Okay.
So there was one of the students, and we were talking about something, and I think she brought up a story about there's a man, I think everyone's heard of that story where a man's drowning on an island and he's asking God for help, and then a boat comes and another ship comes, and and then he ends up drowning, right? And then he goes and meets God, and he's like, why didn't you save me? He goes, I sent you all these people, why didn't you take them on? So it's about taking on the opportunities that come your way, because they're the ones that are going to help you. So that's a story that I remembered from when she was speaking to a student, and it's one that I often remember, that if you don't, something comes your way, like what's the harm in trying, and taking on, and if it doesn't work out for you, then at least you won't have that regret.
Absolutely. And there's another kind of add on to that, and I had this conversation with somebody recently where another thing I have also learned, because Hodge knows that, the kids will come to me with some moan or the other, and I would just give a proverb, story, or whatever, because I kind of feel like that way you're not telling somebody what to do, nor are you taking on the burden of babysitting them, because that's too much of a headache. Do you know what I mean? I ain't nobody's, a parent. But I use the term surrogate, and that's, I feel like, we were surrogates to them in that time that, that we had them. And so I felt then, and still feel with any, young adult under my care, whether it's under my supervision or in my line of sight, or as, a friend, and I will constantly say on my watch, that, it's my responsibility, especially now that I can officially say I'm an elder, which I love, even though people older than me would be like, child, what you talking about? You ain't reached 90. But anyway, halfway there, whatever, half of a century plus. But anyway, okay. But what I was saying is that I was saying to somebody the other day how the thing with that as well is you never know how the prayer is going to be answered. You know what I mean? So like you said, conversation with God, why didn't you save me? I was praying. Yeah. You don't know how the prayer is going to be answered. So like you said, taking just, at least just taking a leap, and we never know how it's going to end up. And whether it is good or bad, and I do that because I think in this society we have a tendency to call one positive and the other negative, when really they're all life lessons, which is part of what I wanted to explore in this series 2, is the concept of lessons learned, what we learn from life, the lessons that we learn as we go along, and the accumulative lessons for which we have a takeaway where we can go, and what I love about what you've already said, and we're, only like halfway in, is you learned something from your old self. You realize that not taking grasp of opportunities does not serve you well, and actually stepping out and at least trying gives you more, more scope and, widens the horizon and, what's the worst that would happen? You'd learn something, right?
Right.
Yeah. Or you'll come here and have a conversation with me. Okay. So, so let's just touch on your name, for a minute, or two. So tell us how it is correctly pronounced. And I do that because, I have a name that those that know me, I have beef when people don't pronounce my name properly, but Anyway, so tell me how it is correctly pronounced and the I was gonna say etymology, but can we find your name in the dictionary? I don't think so. So exactly. So just to give me like a rough, like, what's the history behind it?
So the correct pronunciation of my name is HOJVERIA. So all throughout school, I've heard so many different names. I mean, one of the worst was HOJVERIA.
And I was like,
yeah,
you didn't slap them down.
It was crazy. But I think my name was made up.
Of who and who, or from where and where? What's the story?
I have no idea because I think it was my granddad's friend who named me. It's a thing back home where the elders just name random kids. I mean, I wouldn't ever let a random elder name my kid. But that's a thing people have in like back home, and so yeah, and actually my mum didn't name any of us, so it was one of those things where just random people named us, and I love my name. I think I couldn't be more Hoj. And most people know me by Hoj, and yeah, it's just, I don't know, I'm so glad I have a name that's unique and it's different, and I own it. Actually, I really love my name, and I always think I would love to give my kids like unique names as well. I think names, they're a huge part of who we are. So
yeah, I 1000% agree. And you remember, I don't know if you do remember, but I in the very beginning, because you were the one who said Hoj, and I remember thinking, with such a beautiful name, you know what I mean? Why are we calling you Hoj? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you started to tell me the stories of the different ways people called you, and I was appalled. I was like,
Yeah, no one ever gets my name right, ever. Like, very few people. Like, I'm actually shocked when people actually pronounce my name correctly.
You know that does my head in, because I'd say to people all the time, forget the accent of the kind of vowels, consonants, or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's even just be phonetical about this. Let's just stick with with sort of phonetics, with syllables, with what I mean. Let's just even play it that way. Break it down. For example, yours, Hoj, there, Ria. You know what I mean? Like it's. But I think there is a thing that just happens in the psyche, especially in this sorry country. Do love you.
Also, another thing, having my name and the difficulties that have come with it, another thing I've now become conscious of is that I'm mindful when I ask people, like, when their names are, then I ask them what's the correct way to pronounce your name. I give them that respect, because I know what it's like to have my name constantly mispronounced. And even when you correct people, it's like they don't care enough to correct themselves. So we've all had experiences like that, where people don't even care enough to respect you enough to pronounce your name correctly. So going through that experience, I am now more mindful when I speak to other people. Like, I ask them, how shall I pronounce your name? And if they want me to, they don't mind how I say it, or they don't mind a shorter version. I'm not okay with everyone calling me Hoj. If I'm not on that level with you, then no, use my correct name.
Exactly.
And if you don't know it, then please learn it.
I'm with you, girl. I am right there with you. Like, right there with you. I literally was just saying that, recently. I was like, yeah, it's only now that I've, opened up, chi to the public space. Do you know what I mean? And it's more from a divine energy perspective. Do you know what I mean? But I still ain't playing with you. You know what I mean? I'm like, know my name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I think, like you said, the person is one of those that just wants to take the easy route, then I'm like, we're not playing that game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or,
And something I always do, no matter what, is when I introduce myself, I always introduce myself with my full name first.
Yes.
Like I know some people, you know, when you first meet them, they introduce themselves with the shorter version, and then later I find out that actually no, that's not even their name. So for me, I'm like, no, hi, I'm HOJVERIA, and then you can call me Hoj, you know, just to make things easier, you know. But I make sure to always introduce myself with my full name.
Yeah, definitely. I don't even say just to make things easier. I literally, you know, I call, in fact, I think this might be from school, and I might need to blame my dad, because whenever our names were not written correctly on a report card or whatever, he will make us take it back. Won't even read it. He'd be like, take that back to where you just got that from. Have them corrected before you bring it to me. So I don't know if that's conscious or subconscious. I just thought of it now, but I tend to even go first name, surname. Do you know what I mean? Before I even, do you know what I mean? Before I would even say Chi, like my name is Chi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you know, so, and I think it, for me then, the way that the different names, and I have, I don't want to say multiple, but, you know, I've had, you know, used different versions of my name or different monikers over time. What I love about that is it helps me to also know where I knew the person from, or how, you know what I mean? Like some people call, you know, like I've got some friends that don't even call me by my proper name at all. Like it's like an abbreviated form of some fond, do you know what I mean? Pet name they go, which I love.
Yeah.
And I know, I knew this person from, you know, 1912 and the other person from 1922 or whatever. Well, yeah. She's a forensic scientist, so she's doing the math. She's like, yeah, girl. Okay, so I don't know. Should I touch on that? A forensic, a smart chick like you. Okay, should I be? Okay, you know what? Let me do this. Because you know that I love the fact that you are a forensic scientist, even though you are not using it right now. And you know, I've been on you in the past about that. But maybe actually let's touch on that. Between the sort of, you know, 23 to 25, what would you say in terms of lessons learned? What would you say? Okay, so now you're taking you're not giving a hoot anymore. You're just like, okay, I just need to take, you know, life by the horns and just, you know, just make it happen. But I know that that's not always easy. So what would you say how can I put this in the simplest way? What has framed your approach for moving forward? Now, let me give you an example. The other day you said to me, you sent me a picture and you said, you sent me a message and you said, I'm thinking of coloring my hair.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you sent me a picture of what color you thought you, you know, and then we had conversations about,
yeah.
And then we had conversations of like how, you know, okay, it's going to be red. Okay, how, you know, the best tones and things like that. And I have to admit, the next pictures you sent me were of it done.
Yeah.
Like, she is just on fire these days.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to say, I'm going to say yes to things. I'm going to take, you know, the bull by the horn. I'm going to, you know, take some more ownership of my own life. I'm going to, you know, embrace, you know, the uniqueness of who I am as a human being. That's one thing. To then have the psyche that goes, okay, I'm not even waiting until tomorrow. I'm about to do this. Or I'm not even I'm about, you know, I'm not even waiting for that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to say yes, you know, to Chi, you know, even if it's going to be an accident waiting to happen. I'm going to get my hair colored, you know, even if I might come out, you know, crying about it. So what's that? What is the takeaway from the lessons you've learned so far that have allowed you to be that immediate about your actions and decisions?
I guess I've just realized over time that life is too short to worry about, you know, what you want to do, because when you think about it realistically, we only get about 60 to 80 years on Earth,
if we're lucky.
and if we are lucky, right? And I read this thing a while ago, and it was like, humans get 80 years on Earth, and they spend most of it caring about what other people think.
Oh, lad, that person better.
When I read that, I was just like, that's so true. Like, so many of us are so afraid to do the things we want because we are concerned about what other people will say about us. In fact, a lot of people don't do the things they want. They're afraid to be themselves, or they're afraid to follow their dreams, or whatever, because of the comments other people will make. But people are going to talk about you regardless of what you do, right? So you might as well just do what you want. And I was speaking to a colleague. She's a lot older, and she was just saying how you spend your 20s just being insecure and just being afraid and everything, and you get into your 30s and it gets better, and then you get into your 40s and 50s, you just don't give a shit about anything, and so she was like, so it's just. But then I also realized that I don't want that later on in life. That's when I, start following my dreams or following my passions. And like, I don't want to spend my youth being constantly worried,
Okay, so
and I have been.
Yes. And I'm glad you got to that, because that's what I was going to ask you about. And you just said it, you have been. And I want to know why were you, just in a nutshell, because I kind of want to move to sort of some futuristic stuff, but what was it, what would you say was the biggest reason for you being so sheepish about your life? And partly why I asked that is, you said something just now about the person, that your colleague who talked about what people are like when they're in their 20s, and maybe for a lot of people that wasn't quite, I was as bold as God knows what. In fact, I think what started to happen was I started to believe this narrative, which was that I needed to grow up and be an adult, and what that in my as I got on. And then what that started to do, and when I say narrative, I'm not even blaming the outside world. Sometimes what happens is, if you've been like, you don't care, and and you just do you, and you do that for long enough, you become acutely aware of how in the minority you are. And what happens after a while is that can also get tiring. And because human beings, I think, you have those that are natural leaders, you know what I mean, and they kind of, and do what they need to do. But that can also be isolating, right? Because then you realize you are on your own. You really are. Because when you are paving the way, or you are living your life as you want to, you don't always have people that are cheering you on. You don't always, trust me, especially if it's something that like think about it. Think about some of the trailblazers in the world. You know what I mean? They talk about how much effort it took for them to hold onto their dreams.
Right.
Nobody else believed. Or people were doing, something else. There's a phrase that gets used in media around early adopters. That there's a small minority of people that, if something, for example, is launched fresh and new, you would have the people that are happy to try it out, and they're not waiting for anybody else's opinion. They like what you said. And then there are those who want to hear, what it was like for other people. They want to wait for us. They want to see, you know what I mean, before they,
Yeah.
And majority of people apparently fall into that category. And then you have the, the latecomers, the ones, the stragglers. So there's, sort of thing around that. But, why sort of mention that in context is, I'm then wondering, because for me personally, I started to get really tired. And this is, as I said, this has nothing to do with other people. I mean, it does, but you take ownership for yourself. I started to get really tired of feeling like I was putting so much energy and focus into just staying in my lane. Like, it was tiring. And when I say staying in my lane, even if it did not look like what other people were doing, right? Because sometimes you don't get brownie points for that. And so I started to almost dull the light, like start dimming the switch in my own house. Just to, I can look back now and say, I don't think it was a fitting in. It was more like okay, maybe this might make my journey smoother if I kind of do like what most people are doing. And part of that was this mentality or this mindset, this narrative that I had, I don't even think I convinced myself that, okay, I was being grown up. Let me be mature. Let me be grown up. Let me do what normal people do. Do you know what I mean? Let me pay my bills and concentrate on those things and not have these flights of fancy about following my dreams. And that didn't work out too well. Because, and this is why I love that you have taken ownership of your life, because you realize one life is not promised to anybody. Time is not promised. Time is on loan. No. You spend your life, whatever you spend your life doing that is not actually your unique path, actually requires more effort. So I found out for myself that it took more effort for me to try to be normal. Yeah. And it did for me to just be like, yeah, as a good friend of mine will say, cray cray, okay, bring it on. Bit of crazy, let's go. So I love, I mean, that's, me waxing lyrical, but it's just so that, you kind of understand maybe where I'm coming from. I love the fact that you have taken ownership of your life. You're not waiting any longer. Because even back in the day, you'd say things like, so I'm thinking of doing, do you want to think? And you'd always be looking for like, Jimmy, and it didn't matter what I thought, right? You wanted to take self-defense classes. I'm not the one on the street having to fight for you, So it didn't really matter. I knew that you just wanted, assurance and advice. And that's what I love about you. You always get like a second opinion and you run things by people. But I love now that you even about your hair, you weren't saying, should I, shouldn't I? Maybe.
Were you surprised when I sent you the photos?
I was surprised how quickly you done it.
Okay.
I was surprised that you didn't have a hoo-ha, ooh, what happens if I... Because remember when you wanted to cut your hair? Ooh, Lord God. Yeah. I think some elections were faster than that process that it took you, and then you do something and then you're like, I don't know if I like it, and I don't, as opposed to just, what, I've done it, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I wake up some days and I do my hair some way and then I'm like, that looks like a bird's nest, like today. I'm like, you know what? Bring it on. The birds, whatever, need nests too. Anyway, I've kind of waxed lyrical for too long. Okay. What are your plans? What does the future look like for you now? With this new attitude, a new approach, and now new hairstyle. And I know you've been getting the whole earring thing going. That's why I came with mine. I was like, let me watch today. I have not worn things like this for, I don't know. Oh gosh. I want to age myself and say maybe a decade or longer. But I remember...
Like those kind?
Yes, of anything that... Have you ever seen me in things that come down to...
No, I've always seen studs.
I always wear studs. Yeah, I always wear studs. And that's not because I don't have big earrings. But I think also because I had my hair shorn, like I love keeping my hair short. And for me, that's all the jewelry I need, what do you want to say about my shaved head? But anyway, now I'm kind of, now I'm trying to be grown up. I'm like, okay, okay. Let's go get back on track. So what does the future look like, feel like? If it were a song, what would it sound like? Does it have a soundtrack? Does it smell like something? Does it sound like something? Does it look like something in particular? This whole you that's like, doesn't matter how I feel, I'm just going to do me.
For song, I think the most, like the song that I relate to most at the moment is, the song "This Is Me" from The Greatest Showman.
Oh no! Please sing it. I don't. I think
I'm not good at singing.
Showman, but
it's with Hugh Jackman and Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, and it's called "This Is Me," and it's about accepting yourself for who you are without like the faults and the abnormalities and the uniqueness about you. Accepting yourself for who you are. And I don't know, that song, whenever I listen to it, it moves me in so many different ways, because I feel like accepting myself is something I've struggled with my whole life, so to see like a song that represents all kinds of people, it could be that you have a disability, or you're from the LGBT community, or you have there's something different about you, or simply just you have a difficulty accepting yourself. And I think that's why that song really it moves me, because it's about not being afraid anymore. Like if you don't like me, then well, screw you.
Because if you don't like you, why expect somebody else to? With all the with the little time that we have in the world to even use take from what you had said earlier, if we have very little time in the world, and therefore people should be using their time to focus on what is on what their purpose and path is, right, which involves other people, being of service to other people, being the best you can be and all of that. But why should people take from their time and journey to like somebody or something that is not taking that time to like itself? You know what I mean? Like, we all need encouragement. We all if all have bad days. We all need somebody to say, yeah, you can do that. Even with these conversations, the number of times I'm like, I have no idea what on earth I think I'm doing on YouTube. And then I have people that are like, so when's your next conversation? And I'm like, you watched anything? Somebody said to me the other day, sent me a message and said, I binge watch you. I was like Netflix?
Yeah.
I love Netflix, sorry Netflix. But I knew what binge watching was, whatever they call it. And I got excited. I was like, ooh. And that's what I mean by somebody using their time, the little time they've got, do you know what I mean? To spend a part of it on something that I'm creating, means I've got to love what I'm creating first, in order to offer up the best to other people.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me of something when I remember when I was in uni and I was expressing my lack of confidence with someone, and they're like, if you're not confident in yourself and you don't own who you are, then others are gonna basically you when you do that, like, others can see it. And they will also give you the same energy. Like, despite how you look, despite what you're doing, like, if you own who you are, if you are confident, then people will also treat you in the same way.
Very true. Very, very true. And the other way around as well. You know what I mean? Like, if you move around life apologetically, people will give you reason to be sorry. So I loved the advice that you got, at college. There was something that I wanted to, so you said something about, we're winding down, but there was something you said about you have, I'm not paraphrasing, but you said something about you have always, or as far as you can remember, you've always felt unsure about yourself, and it's something you've always struggled with. Does your and this is, I don't want us to get deep about this, I just want to know whether how your upbringing has featured in that. And I know, or maybe I shouldn't say I know, okay, maybe what I should say is maybe to let the people know when you say home, because you mentioned, a couple of times, and you were talking about heritage culture, when you were talking about your name, people at home do, and people at home, and I use that phrase all the time, but I think most people maybe, know I'm West African and my heritage is Nigerian and I'm proud of it, and all day, every day. What you gonna do about it? Bring it on. We're here, Niger in the house. Okay, so culture-wise, what is home?
I'm from...
Let me even just say, for all the political people, we are not saying we're not Brits. Please don't get it confused, because I think this is where some folk get this really confused. Do you know what I mean? They should go back to their place if they call it home. It's nothing to do with that. If you are bicultural, tricultural, you will get it. You know what I mean? There's a place that's like soil. There's a place that's like where you reside. There's a place that's got your soul. It doesn't matter where you are. You're like... So, but that's not what this, conversation is about. So, but tell me, sorry,
So, I'm from Pakistan. I was born there.
Pakistan, so whatever. Okay.
It's an incredibly beautiful country.
Oh yes.
And you know what I love? I love the mountainous area and the valleys, and it has so many different, like within Pakistan, it has so many different cultures, and the clothes are just so beautiful, and it's like you don't have just one kind of person, Pakistan, like you have so many different kinds of people. I mean, you have a part of Pakistan that, they look completely different to another part of Pakistan.
Absolutely.
And like completely different. And I love my culture. I own my culture, and
I love your culture too. And I was gonna say, and I've always wanted to go back, because I wanted to even do that train ride, Pakistan across the border thing, whatever.
Into India?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to like stay like now. Okay. So we're gonna have to, I don't know when you're next going, but you might have to put it in place.
I want to go.
Fabrics are fantastic, like everything about it, and like you said, the geography is incredible, topography. I mean, like I would be amazed that I would be like dying of heat, right? And then I look up, and at the top of the mountain, I'm like, what is that white thing? And then somebody would say to me, it's snow. I'm like, what do you mean that's snow?
Yeah. Some parts of Pakistan are just freezing cold, and then other parts are like incredibly hot.
See it, And the same way, like you said, then skin color. You got people that are pale, and then you got people that are dark, and then you got people that are, I love.
You have people that are ginger, who are blonde, with blue eyes.
You don't have to convince me. I know. Right now, I feel like I'm from Pakistan.
It's so diverse, and even like the clothes they wear, like I'm Punjabi, so we have a certain way of dressing, but then you have people who dress like how Afghans dress, they're more the mountainous area, and then you have another part of Pakistan who dress in a completely different way, so and because of how much I appreciate my culture, I started wearing like Asian earrings, so I love Pakistan.
I have some, I think I've worn them in one of my conversations with G. I have some bridal jewelry that's Afghan. I nearly traded I always have to remember that this is public. I nearly had to trade my whole self in order to like negotiate that. But I was like, I am going home with this stuff. I'm beautiful. I got the whole set or whatever. But anyway, so now I'm going off because I love jewelry, and I love culture, and I love heritage, and I love, and I love identity, as I do whole style, I think. And so I love when we own, you know what I mean, all the different colors of who we are.
Yeah.
You know, it really
And I love when you said that, you know, when we say home, you know, it's because that part has our soul. And I really felt that, because I don't know, like just the thought of, you know, going back home, and it's like, it is home, you know, home is where you are comfortable and you are happy. And I do feel that when I go there, you know. So yeah, I loved when you said that.
Yeah, because you don't have to. The thing is, when you are there, I don't know about you, when you are there, it's like you don't have to explain anything. It's like a being. Like whenever I'm home, I feel rich, and it's got nothing to do with money. It's got nothing to do with whether I have a roof over my head. There is just okay, you know, that's another program, girl. We're learn right here. Okay.
The air is just different.
Okay. All right. So we're going to Pakistan together with the first opportunity we have. Okay. So let's you see how the time went. You were nervous, and now we are actually over time. I'm like, oh, this is longer than I, you know. So you see, I did you know, say to you, it will just be like having a conversation with me at the bus stop. Okay, so let's pretend we're at the bus stop, and the bus is coming, my bus, and like I used to say to you, Hoj, I ain't gonna stand here all evening with you. I'm getting this bus and I'm gone. See you tomorrow. Okay, so imagine that we're in that moment, and my bus has come, 177, right? I was trying to remember. Okay, my bus has come. You've let 6 of yours go by, but mine. So yes. Yeah, so mine has come, and I'm like, girl, I ain't standing here no longer with you. Go home. So we're about to get on the bus, and this is not one of those moments where you're like, gee, I'll even come a few stops with you and come back with you. We've done that too, which I used to really love. What if our parting farewells at the bus stop? Then we're going to see each other soon again. What would you be moving into? What would you be when you get on the bus to go? I get on the bus to go my way, you get on the bus to go your way. What does your future look like? This bus, where is it taking you? What location? Now? Yes, now. What does that look like for you? If the bus had a location on the front, you know, where would it go in?
I think I want to go to a place that is happy.
Ooh.
I think now it doesn't matter what that happy consists of, you know. I think sometimes people are so focused on the next big hit or the next big stage in their life, and they forget to live in the moment. And you've even also told me that I need to start living in the moment. I don't live in the moment. I'm either in the past or the future. And you know, this is all like, I was thinking about all of this around the same time, and I remember I was, you know, shower thoughts are like the best. So I was in the shower, and then I just realized, I was like, I don't want that my life goes past me, and then I look back and I'm like, I have no good memories, or, you know, I don't have any recollection of, you know, anything good I did, because I was so concerned about what I did yesterday, or what my future is going to be like, you know. And over time I've just realized that I really do want to just be happy, you know, and it doesn't really matter what happy is, you know. I know for some people having a lot of wealth means happy, or, you know, being in a certain career makes them like that could be their happy, you know. For now, my happy is just learning to be myself. Ooh, and
I love that.
Yeah, and just not being afraid, and I also have felt really happy just doing the things I want and just following my heart. So right now, that's my happy, and I want to continue on this journey. So the bus
is taken. So the bus comes along. We've got happy written on it. You get on, put your Oyster card on it, or whatever it is we're going to be doing after all of this, you know, stuff fades. Well, that's supposed to be some kind of card, right? Because apparently we can get the virus by using cash. But okay, anyway, yeah, I just have to throw that in there. Okay, So you would have, put your oyster on there, you start going. How will you know when you are getting close to your destination? Because you can't follow the bus to the bus garage. You got to get off at some stop. So what does the right stop look like?
I guess it's what my heart feels, isn't it? So like.
Oh, you are getting so deep. You're at young age.
Yeah, it's well. I guess when you'll know in your heart, when this is the right stop for me and I need to get off, following your heart, following your gut. That's another thing I'm trying to do now, follow my gut. So so when I get that feeling in my heart, like this is the right place, I need to get off here, then that's what I will do.
I love that, and I think that's a perfect place for us to stop. I love that. See, I didn't even know where this conversation was gonna go. I am listening to you and I'm like, you have grown so much.
Really?
Honestly. And let me tell you why I say that. I know we're pausing, we're stopping here. Let me tell you why I say that, and I don't even want it to be misunderstood as maybe patronizing or because of the age difference. Nothing to do with that. When you have known a person who has struggled as you have to be comfortable in your own skin with all of your potential. I used to just, freak out in all the good ways about the forensic science. You know what I mean? I've badgered her, I've bullied her into going, but I've been, and we cannot, you are like a friend, like a sister, like a daughter, a colleague, you all those things wrapped in a co-human, now a Canthro citizen, because you're in conversations with me cheap. You've been all those things, wrapped up in one for me. And so when people are those things to me, I actually just want the best. Do you know what I mean? And it's not even my best for you, it's for you to pursue your best. And there have been, if you permit me to say, there have been moments where you have asked me, oh, T, do I ask you too many questions? Am I getting on you? And I've been honest with you, and I'm like, no, because I know that's your heart wanting to know and to learn. And I would tease you and I'd go, and the day you get on my nose, I'll tell you. I will. But what I love hearing on this conversation is the growth, the progress you have made. And I know that it's not complete because none of us are. None of us are. I had to recover myself and start over, and every day put one foot in front of the other until I got comfortable again, you know what I mean, with who I was. And so I know that it's a journey for you, and that's why I love that whole, where we end with the bus, the sort of, location happy, and the right stop will be, your gut and your soul feel like, yes, you're comfortable. So I love that. Continue in your growth. Don't let anything stop you, even when it, you'll have days, and I know you have days where, you feel a little bit emotional. We all have days like that, you know what I mean? But that does not own us.
No.
Your emotion has no power except for the power that you give it. When I was coming up, they used to say, tears ain't kill no child, when the children would be like crying, and it's not because they're hungry or anything like that. It wasn't like child abuse. It was just, sometimes children have a moan, and what we are prone to do sometimes is just pick them up, and then they never really like grow and learn, you know what I mean, and even understand what their tears are about. And I just use that as an analogy, to say that we all have moments where we still cry, you know what I mean, as children, and sometimes we don't even know what we're moaning about. But we're not going to die from it, and I'm not talking about depression, so sometimes I find I have to like be so clear when I'm having conversations because I'm aware that it's not just, it feels like it's just me and you, but I'm aware that it's not, by the time it's out in the public. So I always have to, clarify. But it's just to encourage you to keep growing, and maybe we have another conversation when you're 27 or 28.
Yeah, still in my 20s. Yeah, it would be nice, and maybe I'll have more growing done by then.
Yes, or maybe you would have grown with something in your hands.
Well, maybe.
Okay, but Hod, you've been a wonderful guest. It's just been a blast. Really has,
Yeah, and I didn't even realize the time. Like, we really just spoke, and I was so nervous, and I'm completely fine now.
Exactly. See, I promised you it'd be all right with me. You're in my hands. Okay, all right, my darling. So, I usually just give my salutations to the guest. So I salute you. Thank you so much for visiting me virtually.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for agreeing. Thank you for saying yes. And citizens, please help me wherever you are. Salute to my friend, HOJVERIA.